Welcome, fight fans, to episode 9 of the Hooks In MMA podcast. On this week's episode, as always, starting off with hot headline news, looking back at this week's Dana White Contender Series, our boy TJ Laramie getting his UFC contract in a dominating win. Also, some other headlines this week. We got Paige Van Zandt signing $1 million deal with the Bare Knuckle Fighting League. That'll be interesting to see what happens to her face. And then also talking about UFC 252 and the implications of all of these big hyped up fights. As always, we're getting ahead of that book with the Easy Lines bet predictions brought to you this week by Rally Brewing Company. And then we've got 2 amazing interviews on this week's episode. First, we've got 20-fight veteran of the UFC, Sam Hands of Stone Stout. He fights out of London, Ontario, Canada. He's a co-owner of Adrenaline MMA Gym, just like our boy Mark Hominick, and he's got some interesting stories to tell you about his storied career. And then next, but certainly not least, we have Marlon Chito Vera. He's fighting this week, the second to last fight of the card versus Sean O'Malley, hoping for that big upset and hoping he knocks off that clown's head. So before we start things off, I'm going to pass things over to Adam Davidson, and we'll kick it right off. Here we go.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, so I guess the big news this week, it's been a pretty quiet week in forms of MMA news, but Paige Van Zandt signing a multi-fight contract with the Bare Knuckle organization, and obviously it's a smart move by her. It sounds like she's cashing out. She's going to make a lot of money, but to me it seems like, she's come out and said that she's got she's proven that she's not just a pretty face, this and that. Well, if that's why she's doing it, I think she's doing it for the wrong reasons, because, she was in the UFC, so we all know she's tough. But what do you guys think about this deal? She did turn down Scott Coker came out and said that she turned down a deal with Bellator. So she's going for the bare knuckles. What do you guys?
Yeah, I'll jump in there. I mean, I think she's taking that phrase, "I'm not just a pretty face," a little too literal there, and got a little overzealous with this deal. I mean, obviously, she got paid well, so that good for her. But I think she kind of just went for the best money and not necessarily the best career move. I think Bellator would have been a great match for her. I think a really good kind of culturally right, and she obviously needed kind of a switch up from UFC. But yeah, I don't agree with this move in terms of her long-term career. Bare knuckle boxing, I mean, that's pretty much the worst thing you can do for your face. So yeah, I mean, there's no chance of grappling in there. There's no chance of any type of wrestling. Like we said, she's going to make a ton of money, but I think it's a little kind of short-sighted move in her part.
Yeah, again, I hate to split seams here, but I'm on both sides. Like, it is good because it's a 4-fight deal and it's over $1 million, and that's absolutely nowhere near the amount that she was going to get. Obviously, in the UFC, they released her, and then Bellator, if she would have signed, I could have seen her signing a 4-fight deal. At the most, maybe 50 to win and 50 to show, 50 to win. So if you do 4 fights, that's 400,000. I think this is literally a moneymaker. It's, she's going to headline that promotion for the 4 cards that she's on. And she's going to make the money she needs to. And then I think she transitions to some kind of Hollywood stuff after, because she's already shown an interest in that. I saw her in a cooking show, but she lost on that too in the first round. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I think the bad thing is, and Z touched on that, is in her UFC fights that you saw, when did she stand for 15 minutes and just look so comfortable on her feet?
Yeah, she can.
Yeah, never. She liked when it kind of got grinded up against the fence. She could take you down, submit you. That's the type of fighter she is, and where she does best perfectly would have been translated to Bellator. Unfortunately, the money with Coker didn't work out, and that's ultimately why she picked bare knuckle. I think it's going to be really tough for her to finish that 4-fight deal. Imagine she gets bashed in the first fight of the second fight and has to come and fight 2 more times. That's not going to be good.
She's going to have a face like Jason Knight.
Yeah, and we all know, nobody wants that face. So,
there's no shirt for your face, if they say. So.
I'm begging for her just to finish off the 4-fight deal, let alone win 3 or 4 of those. So, I hope she makes that money, but she's got to get to the 4th fight to do so.
Yeah, I don't want to be redundant. I agree with you guys, so I'll leave it at that. But I do think now she's got a bounty on her head. Anyone she gets matched up with, oh man, they could really make a name for themselves if they bash her head. And so that'll be interesting. I'm going to be tuning in. I've never really followed this stuff. I watched that Dat Nguyen guy. He's pretty tough as nails, but otherwise, I don't know. I think after these 4 fights, she's probably done her fighting career. I could see her sliding into something like, a Sanko where she's a ringside commentator or analyst. I think she'd do well. But I don't know if that bridge is burned with the UFC, but I guess time will tell. So interesting move. We'll follow along.
If I could transition what you said too. Sean O'Malley said almost the exact same thing about Chito Vera this week. Chito Vera should be very lucky that he's fighting me because now he's slid into a co-main event. Not that popular, but now Chito Vera can make a name off of Sean.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of similar to what you're saying.
Yeah. You don't want to be beat by her either, right? There's that consequence as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Do you guys want to move on to the Contender Series this week?
Yeah, 5 contracts handed out across 5 fights. Sounded like 3rd time ever happening. First time a Canadian's ever received a contract. First time a Canadian barber has ever received a contract. Don't know if that record's ever going to be beaten, but TJ's performance, man, sent him a message, congratulated him. He wrote right back and couldn't be more proud of him. Emotional night, anniversary of his mother passing away. So definitely had a heavy heart, and he just looked so tough on the top, so heavy. He's got those short arms, just raining down strikes. Man alive. I can't wait to see who gets matched up with in the UFC here. You guys have any potential matchups you want to toss around that you could see happening?
The only thing I'd say is has been talk of him moving down to bantamweight. So if that's the case, think about how heavy he's going to be down there on the 135ers. He fought a guy with 30 fights, which you don't see on the Contender Series very often. Usually they're looking at prospects that have a lot of upside, not 30-fight guys. So it was an impressive win. He finished them off with some hard ground and pound. Potential matchups, I guess it just depends on who, if he ends up dropping down to 135 or not. It's tough to pick anybody. I know he mentioned, he's staying at Cody Stamen's place, and Stamen we've had on the show. He's really proud of him. Very similar styles. The good thing about Laramie is he's only 22. He's got a lot ahead of him. Potential matchups, I don't have any names to throw out now because I don't know what weight class he's going to be fighting at.
That's fair. Yep. Cool. So looking ahead, UFC 252 this weekend, highly anticipated, right? We've got the trilogy happening, Moicic and Cormier here. Let's toss around just not so much betting predictions, but like what might happen and what might happen moving forward if we look 6 months ahead, a year ahead, kind of as an aftermath to this weekend's card.
Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens after the fight of DC and Stipe. Like, we all know DC, it's his last fight. There's been some talks that this could be Stipe's last fight. If you imagine both those guys walking away from the division, we all know that the heavyweight division's not that
like that.
Not too deep.
Not too deep, but So if they walk away, basically you just have Curtis Blades, and then you got Derek Lewis, who just won last weekend. That division's going to definitely get impacted if both those guys walk away. But it's hard to see Stipe walking away if he wins. You never know. I'm interested to see what happens. I'm excited about that fight.
Z, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously, if Cormier wins, he's gonna retire and ride off into the sunset. If Stipe wins, though, yeah, I agree. I don't see him retiring. I see him, looking for more paydays. Maybe him versus Brock Lesnar next summer or something. Now maybe he gets the Lesnar fight. Who knows, right? But certainly, the best heavyweight of all time is like that title is up for grabs basically in this fight, which is amazing, which is why it's a great card. And it's going to be very interesting. Again, not getting into too many predictions quite yet, but either one has won, both won. This is a rubber match, so yeah, it's good. It's going to be a great fight.
Yeah, and I absolutely love DC. I don't know about you guys, but I just think the guy's a good human, and he's one of the best fighters ever. So I hope he wins, and we'll talk about prediction wise later on Easy Lines. But if they both do ride off into the sunset, if DC wins and they both retire, whatever it may be, I think it's kind of an exciting time because you have young Canadian guys that we talked about and we had on here, Bozer. There's a bunch of good young prospects that can take over the division. Sometimes it needs new blood. Like we've had some of the same guys there. I think Ngannou takes over and absolutely dominates for a while, but I do think, Rosenstrike, Cyril Gahn, I'm really high on. He's got a big fight coming up. Bozer, there's a few other guys. Rosenstrike could come back after that loss to there's some good new blood in there, and I don't know. I kind of like that, especially at heavyweight, because you get young, hungry guys that are looking for knockouts, and in the heavyweight division, that's what you want to see anyway. So I don't know. Well, I'm excited for the weekend, but I'm excited to see what happens next.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of just to add on there a little bit, yeah, I mean, as we said, the heavyweight, the top heavyweight title is up for grabs right now, and if Stipe does win, there's a lot of people coming up there. Curtis Blades is another really good contender, I think. That we got to watch out for there a little bit as well. As you said, there's a lot of young blood. I think the heavyweight division has always kind of been hurting from things like football, right? If you're a big guy in high school, or you don't necessarily go to wrestling, or you don't go out to train boxing. You're either going basketball or football or something like that, baseball. Now that MMA is coming into more mainstream, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of the bigger guys, right? Like things like featherweight and lightweight are really, really the deepest divisions. Why? Because those small guys can't get into other professional sports, right?
That's a good point.
But now that the bigger guys might start coming up a little bit more now. I think just because it's becoming more mainstream, the Conor McGregor effect, all these type of things. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It's definitely exciting, but this is going to be a turning point for the division for sure. It's going to be very interesting, and yeah, I can't wait to talk more about it in Easy Lines for sure.
He's a late bloomer, but look at Greg Hardy, right? To your point, like a guy that started a little later, but he's that athletic. So if what you're saying, younger guys can definitely do it too. If Greg Hardy can, so can they.
Yeah. Then you got sorry, go ahead, Carlos.
Oh, just to kind of switch gears on the other side of the spectrum, I was going to say the other kind of headline this week was Cody Garbrandt going down to fight Daveson. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that, just because, Cody had an amazing knockout his last appearance. Daveson had a great win himself. Intriguing matchup, and it's something I felt we should analyze for our viewers here.
Yeah, I mean, it's an extremely exciting fight for sure. Good move by Cody because, he's always been a smaller bantamweight. That's why he's been so successful. He's always used his speed of his punches, obviously, to his advantage, and why he's done so well. But now moving down to 125, he's not going to have that speed advantage. Davison is one of my favorite fighters in the UFC overall. I don't know why I love that guy. He's so aggressive. and he's huge for a flyweight. So my early prediction right now is Davison wins that fight. But it's going to be good, man. That's going to be a firefight. Absolutely. It's going to be a great fight.
Yeah, Figueiredo's going to finish him. I can already feel it. He's fucking really good. Really underrated because unfortunately in his division there's not a ton of guys. So, he's dominated Benavidez both times. Obviously once, he missed weight, and like you said, he is a big 125er. But I think Garbrandt is going to make a good paycheck off it because it's another title. It's good for the UFC to brand the 125 division, but I think he's in trouble against Figueiredo.
Yeah, just to jump in quickly, that's exactly, I think, UFC's plan is they're using Cody to build Davison's name a little bit. Cody has a huge name despite him not really being, he doesn't have a bunch of, he won the belt once, and I think he wasn't able to defend it, I don't think, once he lost to TJ right after that, right? But he for whatever reason, big social media following and whatever. So, they're going to use this to build that 125 division, I believe. They get him. They build out Davison. He's an interesting guy. He's just got to learn English. And I think, he has potential to be a good star for UFC.
Definitely what you would call like a showcase fight for him, right? Cody's got that crowd following. He's a likable guy. He has exciting fights throughout his career, and this will be no different. So in terms of looking forward, this one I've circled on my calendar. I think it's going to be an absolute banger.
And you never know. Like, Cody's got heavy hands. Like, that guy can knock you up any second. So
he can catch you.
Maybe this is what Cody needs to, boost back up his career and get back in the spotlight. He already has a big following, but who knows?
He's also one of the guys that had physical connection with Paige Van Zandt as well. So good for him.
Before her face gets fucked up by bare knuckle bucks.
Yeah, before
maybe he goes over to the bare knuckles. Maybe, who knows? Awesome. Well, I know our fans are there's some funds burning a hole in their pocket on their Bet365, their sports interaction. So without further ado, let's slide right in to Easy Lines, brought to you by Rally Brewing. Thank you, Alan Wood. This beer is delicious. Go find it at the LCBO. Just came out a couple weeks ago. You drink some of these, and I think you'll pick winners on your sports account. Ooh. So, Z-Balls, I know you've been doing research all week. I know that on your lunch break you're doing some homework. So,
I wouldn't call it my lunch break per se. We're working from home. No one's over my shoulder, so we're good. But yeah, no, thanks, buddy. Yeah, no, for sure. I've taken a look at the three main fights here, a little bit of another one as well. But to kind of start us off, the main event, as we've already spoken about, the heavyweight championship of the world, rubber match, third fight between Moicic and Cormier. Basically, it's a pick'em fight right now. Stipe is a plus 100, Cormier minus 125. Cormier won the first fight by finish at the end of the first round. Second fight, Stipe won by finish in the fourth round, large part to body shots that he was basically spamming there in the fourth round, and Cormier didn't really have an answer for. So first factor to consider in this fight are the eye pokes, right? The controversial eye pokes. Stipe has mentioned that he will speak to the ref about it beforehand, or maybe even already has spoken to the UFC about it. But Stipe had to get surgery on his eye due to these pokes from the second fight. So he's certainly going to be watching out for this kind of like technique or whatever, right? Whatever you want to call it, right? Kind of gamesmanship type of thing. But in both previous fights, Daniel's come out very strong, very fast, and looked to finish early. He's successful in that in the first fight, obviously. Second fight, he was having success as well, outstriking Stipe for a while. But as the fight kind of wore on, so did the cardio difference, and that started to kind of show the difference with Stipe. And he was still in the pocket, still looking to box. He basically outwore him. Cormier, what he basically does is when he's fighting taller guys, which is pretty much all the time, is he's looking to hand fight. So he's putting his hands up and he's really kind of putting them in their face And that's where the eye pokes come from, right? He's kind of looking to find his way to get closer to them, to get into that really close boxing range. And that kind of leaves, and he's not going to be able to do that this fight, I don't believe. Number one, obviously the rest of me watching out for it. The eye pokes happen. And also, that's the reason why Stipe Miocic was able to land all those body shots. He's keeping his hands up. He's looking to play up here. He leaves his body open. So that's why, and he found that sweet spot and just, took him to him in the 4th round of that second fight. So whether or not Cormier puts his hands down to kind of block those body shots or he keeps it up, it's gonna leave a hole either way type of thing. So Cormier's on the wrong side of 40. He's extremely talented, obviously. I want him to go out on a win, of course, but I'm personally leaning on Stipe to win this fight if I have to choose. It's a very close call, as the betting odds are showing, but I think Stipe is going to be able to weather the storm at the very beginning, avoid any type of eye pokes, grind out a win early, grind it out at the beginning of the first fights and either get a win in the decision or in the late 3rd or 4th round. I certainly don't really see Daniel or Stipe being to end the fight that early, although, Cormier does always have a chance at heavyweight. But my main play here is over 2.5 minus 130. They've matched up 2 times very well already. I think, neither of them is going to be able to catch each other early on. I see Stipe winning by decision or a late stoppage. Certainly wouldn't be blown away by a Cormier win, but I'm leaning on Miocic by decision, plus 500. Looks very interesting to me as well. Yeah, my spiel's done there, boys. What do you think?
Yeah, I was actually kind of hoping you're gonna pick DC so I could be the heel, the Chael Sonnen of the podcast. But I also like Stipe as well. He's a taller fighter, bigger reach. He's only got 3 losses. He's never been submitted. DC's come out and said that he's going to rely on his wrestling more this fight. But Stipe also has really good takedown defense. So I think Stipe is going to try to keep it standing. And if he keeps it standing, he's going to outstrike him like we saw in the last fight. And Stipe also said that the last fight, he didn't really start to feel start getting his feet work until the 4th round is when he finally started to get in his rhythm. So I think this fight, he's going to come out stronger a little bit early and not give DC those first rounds.
Yeah, what are you thinking there, Zone? If anything.
Do I have to be Chael Sonnen?
Oh yeah. You don't have to be, but
pick DC. Everyone loves DC.
I didn't really want to go against you guys, but I think DC wins hands down. I think he's a better mixed martial artist. He said, he was. I don't think Stipe was necessarily outstriking him the last fight. He found the one thing that started to work. He was shooting for the stars, and that was the body shots, and it ended up working to his advantage. I think DC is a better mixed martial artist. I think he mixes in more wrestling, and I think that Stipe's takedown defense isn't as good as DC's wrestling. DC's wrestling is the best in the world. I think he's going to be in trouble. At the very least, a DC decision. I do agree over the 2.5 rounds. I think DC could finish him later on, but I like DC money line minus 110, but I love the easy lines pick of over 2.5 rounds.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over as well, boys. I'm going the other way. I'm going Miocic. I just think at this point in both their careers, he's got the slight edge. He's looking a bit leaner. His striking, if he gets those body shots landed, I think DC's toast. But it's going to be a competitive fight. It's really a coin flip at the end of the day. And in terms of locks, 2.5 over is looking good, and that'll appease both sides.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, go ahead there, Davison.
No, I was just going to say, I'm just looking up the stats of their last fight, and DC outstruck Stipe every round except for the 4th.
Body strikes.
And to go to, to be devil's advocate or, kind of go on the Cormier side of his zone there to say a few things. Yes, he was outstriking Miocic in those first couple of rounds, for sure. I do agree with that. But that was after the eye pokes, right? A little bit. So I don't want to get too much into that, but his eyes were fucked by the end of that fight. He had to get surgery on them. I don't know exactly when it happened, and it happened the first fight as well. What I would say about Cormier, though, is that this is a 25-foot octagon. This is a smaller octagon, which is typically better for grapplers, right? The only thing is that if you go back and watch those fights, Cormier is fucking tired. You can tell he is tired after that first round. The second round, he's progressively getting worse and worse. So in terms of his cardio, right, and Stipe is catching up to him. So I think if he can avoid those eye pokes, he's going to be able to not get out stroke as bad in the second and third round. He's going to lose the first round. I think this might be a live play situation type of thing, where you wait for Cormier to win that first round, and then you get on Stipe, who's going to be, who knows, plus 200 almost at that point, plus 180 or something, and then you get your value. Boom. Okay, now you can, and then you're already on the over, let's say, right? Yeah. You're already like halfway to the over. So I think that's an interesting play right there to get on the other side. But there's a reason why it's a pick 'em fight, right? It's a tough fight to pick. But yeah, I think the main for me over that 2.5, and then whatever you're feeling in terms of the win. We're majority Moicic, but certainly couldn't blame someone for picking Cormier there. So next fight we're going to jump into is the co-main event. Fan favorite Sean O'Malley is taking on Marlon Vera. O'Malley, heavy favorite, minus 300. Vera's at a plus 240. O'Malley coming off a big KO win in the first round over Eddie Weiland just 2 months ago. Everyone, remembers that, obviously, which is why I believe this is a bit of an inflated line. Spoiler alert, I am choosing O'Malley to win in general, but I do believe this line's a little too high. This is a little Vera's not getting the respect that he deserves, certainly, but O'Malley's rise in the UFC has been very quick. Everyone knows about him. That's why he's getting this type of respect, at least even on the betting odds. He was off 2 years due to PED allegations, got cleared back, and he's on a tear now in 2020. Vera coming off a controversial decision loss to Sonya Dawn. Some thought he won the fight, quite a few did actually, but still certainly close nonetheless. O'Malley going into O'Malley, I think, is going to come into this fight looking to do what he always does. Just keep distance and basically pick the guys apart with kicks and long strikes, stay in that kind of long distance boxing range, which is, pretty far distance for him being a bantamweight. He's 5'11" with 72-inch reach, which is monstrous for this weight class. Vera, 5'8" with 70-inch reach. I was obviously not going to be able to keep up with that. Vera has very strong kicks, knees, elbows, but his boxing isn't quite on the same level. His hands aren't on the same level. Defensively, he is very responsible with his hands, I will say, but he lacks the type of volume or the accuracy, obviously, that O'Malley has. As I said, I'm going with O'Malley in this one. The price is higher than it should be, in my opinion. Vera is a very tough customer who has fought better competition than O'Malley. O'Malley's fucked up some people, but they're not that good, to be honest, at least in terms of top UFC guys. But O'Malley's talent, I think, will shine, not necessarily with a finish, though. As I said, Vera's extremely tough. If you look at his record, he basically either ends the guy in the second or the third round, or he loses by decision. No one ends him. Sean O'Malley by decision, plus 150 is my play here. But yeah, what do you guys think?
I'm on the rounds. I think O'Malley wins too, but I think over 2.5 rounds, I think it's minus 135. Chito's hard to hit, and when he does get hit, he doesn't go down. O'Malley's striking is unbelievable, but I'm going over the 2.5 rounds.
Yeah, I'm going O'Malley as well. I think although he's got some tough competition, I think the UFC is trying to build his name. They put him against a guy that usually wins by striking, and that's O'Malley's wheelhouse. I think he's going to outclass him. I don't know if he's going to knock him out or not, but I think O'Malley's going to get the win.
Yeah, because the odds are so kind of skewed, like Zebal was saying. I think there's better value in that either over or by decision. So I'm probably going to put a little bit on each, but there really isn't much reason to put, O'Malley money line unless you're going to go parlay and throw in a couple more multipliers there. But as a standalone bet, that's kind of a foolish bet to make. So I'd advise against that. And look at it as a parlay multiplier if you are inclined to go money line.
Yeah. Or, if you do want to go with the Hookson family favorite, I believe Vera is like a plus 500 or something like that by decision. So I think, if you want to go him, that's the play right there. Okay, so next up, though, we have a very intriguing matchup as well at heavyweight. Junior Dos Santos taking on Jairzinho. I don't know. We're gonna see how I say this. Jairzinho Rosenstrike.
Really good.
It's another pick. Yeah, exactly. Really, really good. Another pick-em type fight. Yeah. Just got to throw that in there. The Hookson family, they'll know that inside joke there probably. But another pick-em type fight that we're looking at here. Dos Santos, slight underdog at plus 110. Rosenstrike, minus 138. Dos Santos has lost his last two fight by finish to Curtis Blades and Francis Ngannou. Rosenstrike just got obliterated by Ngannou as well just 3 months ago in about 20 seconds. So, but he wants to get back in there quickly. Don't know how he's going to be mentally after a loss like that. But he is an experienced kickboxer. He's had a ton of fights. So, I look to him to be bouncing back. Dos Santos himself has looked a little chinny, as of late. He's had a lot of heavyweight wars in the UFC already over the years. He's not as old as I thought. He's 36 years old, so he's not too old yet, but certainly, starting to get up there. He just got outstriked by Curtis Blades last fight, which is, a little alarming going into this fight against Rosenstrike. But Dos Santos actually has a good matchup against Rosenstrike, in my opinion. He's a counter puncher and does well staying long and landing jabs and kicks. Big overhand right. Rosenstrike is more of a slow mover, plotter, stay in the middle of the octagon, looks to counter punch as well. If Rosenstrike comes out and changes his style a little bit and looks to pressure a little more, he'll have a lot more success. JDS does not do as well with like that type of high pressure. He kind of gets his back up against the cage, looks to circle out with his hands low. Rosenstrike has KO'd people in the UFC with just jabs and like check left hooks and crap. So he has a lot of power and didn't really necessarily show his kickboxing, I guess I would say technique, right, in his last fight against Ngannou. It just isn't a great representation of what type of kickboxer he is. Although he was mostly losing to Overeem before he kind of got that flash KO end of the 5th round. So this is a very, very tough fight to call. I'm mostly passing on this in general on my cards, but if I have to look for something, I'm looking at Rosenstrike. He's going to be able to land on JDS, I believe, and JDS won't be able to take as much punishment and go down probably in, I would say, potentially first or second round. I'm looking at the under in this fight, but what are you guys thinking?
I like JDS in this fight. I like his experience. I like his boxing, and I like his ability. I like his reach to keep distance. I like him just money line, actually. I think he bounces back. I don't think it's the end of his career. And Rosenstrike's, has made a name for himself. He's knocked out a bunch of people, but he obviously got crushed by Ngannou. I think it's going to be a pretty back and forth fight, but I think JDS wins this 29-28 in a decision.
Yep. I like JDS too. I like the value there, slight underdog. And it'll be great to see his return. So we're out of time for this week's episode, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We've got Sam, Hands of Stone Stout coming up. Tune in next week for episode 10 and enjoy this pay-per-view this weekend, guys.
Woo.
Really excited for this week's episode. Next up on the Hookson MMA podcast, we have Canadian legend, 20 fights in the UFC, Sam, Hands of Stone Stout. How's it going today?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. You're just talking about first day back at Adrenaline there. How did it go today?
Yeah, we actually opened up 2 weeks ago, but I went to Fight Island with Malcolm Gordon, and we had to fly home through the U.S., so Canadian Customs made me do a 14-day self-isolation thing, so this is the first day. I've been able to come in and teach. So it's nice to be back. Nice to be back, but it's been a little strange not being able to, my classes, we usually do a lot of pad work with a partner, and you can't do that, right? So we got I'll kind of show you my shoulder. We got these taped off squares all over the mat, and you got to stay within your own little space, right? So it's very, very different from what we're used to doing.
Yeah, it's taken away everything that a fighter wants to do when they're training and when they're fighting, right? It's no contact, and
it's full contact fighting without any contact. So
so just curious, we big fans growing up watching you your entire career. You retired fairly recently, but just wondering, what piqued your interest? We knew you started with karate and some kickboxing, but just how did it evolve from there?
Yeah, I did karate as a young kid, and then got, really it was like from 3 or 4 years old till about 9, and then I kind of got away from it for a while, and then I met Sean Tompkins when I was 16, and I started doing kickboxing training with him. That was right at the same time he started training Mark Hominick and Chris Sordesky. So the three of us all kind of started training together, and all with Sean right around the same time. So it was just kind of a fluke that the four of us all kind of came together right at the same time. And the rest is history. We just started doing kickboxing fights and finding fights anywhere we could. We were driving all over the Midwest, all over the States, all over, going where we had to go to get as much experience as we could. And then Mark got his first fight for TKO. It was UCC back in those days, and he fought for a title. So I started training MMA just to be a training partner for him. So Mark used to just beat my ass until I had to start learning MMA. And then, once I kind of started getting the hang of it, Sean started getting me MMA fights. And then there was just more opportunities in MMA. It was kind of when the Ultimate Fighter show, shortly after we started getting active in the fight game, that Ultimate Fighter show came out, and the UFC kind of blew up. So we rode that initial wave right into the UFC there.
Yeah, and I think you being Mark Hominick's training partner for a little bit, it ended up working out pretty well for you.
Well, not for a little bit. I mean, I'm still. Right.
Yeah, I just mean, how many fights you had in the UFC and success.
And the good thing about, he was already, in his first few fights, he made such a name for himself so quickly that they kind of springboarded my career a little bit. So I didn't have to maybe pay my dues I still went out and fought, but I got kind of springboarded into to a higher level right away. So it worked out well for me. I was started fighting in TKO at 19, and I was fighting in the UFC by the time I was 21. So it was like 2.5, almost just shy of 3 years of fighting pro. Then I just saw the other day, actually, I was the fourth youngest. I'm the fourth youngest person still that's ever headlined a UFC event. So
yeah, we saw that as well. We were sending that back and forth in our Hooks In group, and we're like, there he is. There's the man. But yeah, I guess I would say to that is, there's some people that, whether it's their management or themselves, that, have 7-8 fights where they try to pad the record a little bit. I would say that's opposite for you. You took some really tough fights earlier on, like you said.
Well, I fought all the top title contenders in Canada. So,
yeah.
I fought some real the best guys around at the time in the country, and then I went right into the UFC after 10, 11 fights. So I didn't really there's no easy fights in the UFC. So yeah, I didn't have. I've got 33 fights, I believe, professionally, and 20 of those were in the UFC, right? And
yeah.
and then 5 of those were title fights outside of the UFC. So I didn't have an easy road, but
not at all.
I wouldn't have traded it for anything, man. That's the way it went. It worked out well for me. I had a good career that I'm proud of. So it is what it is.
Absolutely, and we're proud of that too. Just speak to Sean Tompkins and his effect on you, Horodesky. Hominick, and just, anybody that came into contact with him. I've heard nothing but good things. So
about Sean,
yeah,
he was just such a role model for all of us, and not always a good role model. He was a bit of a troublemaker sometimes. So, but we had a lot of fun. He was such a leader for us. It's like, he wasn't always he wasn't perfect, but he was a great coach. He became my brother-in-law rather, and even much before he married my sister, I already considered him a brother. So, he was one of the most influential people in my life. That the only other person that would compare to him is my dad. So, it's he was definitely a big part of my life.
Yeah, it says a lot. I guess speak to being in the TKO promotion, and then you won and defended that title 4 times, and I don't think you ever lost it. So that helped springboard you as well to the UFC, and like you said, with Hominick starting there and winning a title early, like how did that springboard your career?
Yeah, I mean those years in TKO, I hadn't lost a fight in years, and I lost my first MMA fight. I just went in there overzealous to a guy named Jay Estrada, and then he caught me in a rear naked choke when I was, I still was very unexperienced, and I had one draw, which I think I should have won. I fought on somebody else. And then I went on a win streak, and there was only 1 or 2 guys in TKO that I couldn't finish. So I had a good name going for myself, and there wasn't as big of a pool of young up and coming guys as there is, and TKO was a big promotion. It was getting a lot of, it was covered by every MMA media site, all the major ones. They had reporters there, so it was a pretty big deal. It was definitely the biggest show outside of the UFC in Canada. So it definitely helped me get in there quick, and but I think it also got me very ready for the UFC. Like the production, it was like a mini UFC.
Yep.
They had great production. It had all the lights. It had had big crowds. It was definitely, it made the transition into the UFC a lot easier.
Yeah, and Mark Hominick spoke to him being on a card, and David Loiseau and George St. Pierre. That obviously pretty solid guys. And
it was a really cool thing because our first UFC appearance, mine and Mark's, was on the Canada. They did one Canada versus US card, right? So, George fought BJ Penn, David Loiseau fought Rich Franklin, Mark fought Eve Edwards, I fought Spencer Fisher. There was a couple other, Steve Vigneault, who's a former champion TKO, fought Mike Swick. Like it was a cool card to be on. But those were all guys that we had been fighting on the same cards as for years. So like David, George, Steve, Mark, myself, we were all already very close friends, and so it was cool for us to all get our. It wasn't like David and George had obviously fought in the UFC, but for the rest of us, it was cool to have those guys there and have a group of friends already that were all kind of rooting for each other.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I guess speak to your 20 fight UFC experience. So, these days, we can talk a little bit about that later, how the UFC's changed from what it was 10 years ago. But, your 20 fight experience, not a lot of guys stick around. I'd say even half or a quarter of that amount. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of the fact. I don't have the best record in the UFC. 9 wins, 11 losses. A lot of close fights though. And those last 3, I just something happened to me. I just couldn't take a punch the same way. So, but yeah, it was. I think being a fan favorite and being, winning all the fight of the nights really helped keep me there. We used to get a pep talk in the back room from Dana White before every fight, and he said if you go out there and put your balls on the line and let it all hang out, I will bring you back, win or lose. And I like getting those bonuses, and I liked when the crowd cheered for me, and I hated it when I'd fight somebody who would run away or whatever, somebody who wouldn't want to fight, and I'd hear the crowd boo. It just made my blood boil. So, that's just the type of fighter I was. If, in hindsight, I probably would have had a longer career. I probably would have had less, long-term damage if I would have fought a little smarter. But, I'm proud of what I did in there. I'm proud of the fight of the nights. I'm proud that, and one thing you start to realize is I don't have a lot of people come up and say and talk about my record. They just talk about my fights like they don't remember who won or lost. So to me, I walk around with my head held high after my career's over.
Absolutely. And like you said, Dana came and said that if you would have tried to fight a little smarter and a little more cautious and maybe win fights, but by decision and not put on a show, maybe you wouldn't have had 20 fights, right? So I couldn't agree more with you. So just, do you still watch the UFC? Do you still watch fights? Obviously you're at Fight Island with Malcolm.
A lot harder to keep up. I mean, I have a gym, I have a daughter. So, and it's just not, it's ridiculous to have to pay for every pay-per-view at your house every weekend almost, right? So yeah. I try and watch as many as I can. I've watched most of the recent ones. So I saw the one last weekend. I saw all the ones on Fight Island because I was there for all of them, for most of them. And so yeah, I'm caught up on current events right now.
Yeah. So I guess my question was, the way the business is run these days compared to maybe 10 years ago when you were in it, what are the biggest changes you've seen?
Well, I mean, I just was involved in Malcolm Gordon's fight week on Fight Island, and that was unlike any other fight week I've ever had. They have the guys from the UFC PI doing all their weight cutting, like keeping them all healthy. They're taking better care of the fighters in a lot of ways. Like, their food was delivered to the room. It was, a lot of things are really good. Malcolm's making 6 times what I was for a starting purse. So that's nice to see. 6 times. There's a lot more social media involved than there was in my day. There's a lot more, hype-driven fights as opposed to skill. Not to say that the best guys end up becoming champions anyways, but sometimes it's not necessarily the number one contender that gets the shot. It's the number one, the guy with the most Instagram likes. So, I mean, that's different, but it's a business and I understand it. It's good to see the pay going up for the fighters, but it's still not where it should be. I don't know. It's growing though. It's getting better.
Yeah. And I mean, it's again, I referenced Mark Hominick. He was saying, the sport's still young compared to a lot of other sports. It's been around, how 25, 30 years, whatever it may be. But I think it can only go up.
30 years, right? 2022, I think will be, was it 92 was the first UFC ever?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure myself, but.
I think it was 92. So it's coming up on 30 years. I mean, the difference between, it is a young sport, and I think that gets used as an excuse a lot for, mostly for the low pay scales. But the fact that they are when the NHL, I always reference to the NHL because I know a lot of players and I know, and we've had this conversation so many times. Like when you look at the Rocket Richard days and the old school guys, and I've met a lot of them that are Hall of Famers that are, working at car dealerships and stuff like that now. And it's like, but at that time, it wasn't a multi-billion-dollar, in some cases, industry. Like that's the difference now with the UFC. They have the opportunity to make so much more. In those days, it was just, in the early 1900s or whatever, there was no big TV deals, right? Yeah. There was multi-million-dollar ESPN contracts and all that stuff. So it's
sponsorships as well.
In my mind, it's unfair to compare the two and try and compare them like it's apples to apples. It's really not. But everyone's trying to make as much money as they can. The UFC and the UFC brass, the Dana Whites, the owners of the UFC. They're just trying to make as much money the same way the fighters are. It's going to be a battle. And I think it doesn't really change until you see more of these guys holding out, more of the John Joneses, the George Masvidals, and then coming together on a united front and creating a union. That's the only thing that's going to do it. Otherwise, it'll be inchworming its way up, and you'll see. I mean, I first fought in 2006 in the UFC, and my starting contract was 2-2, $2,000 to fight and $4,000 to win. So, and it's gotten up to 12. So I mean, 12 and 12 is what the starting contracts for guys are now. I mean, 12 and 12, you win your first fight, you made $24,000 US in a night. That's pretty good, but it's still, and then it jumps up to 14 and 14. It's like, it's hard. You can only fight as many as, most guys fight 3 times a year. So, you win 3 fights in a year, which is a tough thing to do in the UFC. You're still only making $80,000.
And then management fees and your training and
20%, you're going to pay a chunk to the IRS, Revenue Canada, if you're from Canada. Like, you're walking away, you're not walking away with that much left. And the one problem I have with it is you only have, if you're lucky, a 10-year window, right? Maybe, I mean, some guys, I guess if you're lucky, 15 years, call it,
yeah.
right? And probably 10 of those, if you're lucky, are going to be really good years, right? So and then you're done, and you're young, and I mean, I got a gym, but I got to work my fucking ass off in this place to make ends meet. It's not like, and the money I made in the UFC, when I got into my later years, I was smart enough to put enough away that I could put a down payment on buy it, and partner up with a few people and buy a building. But it's a tough business running a gym. And after the UFC, if you haven't gone to school or you haven't done anything, there's not a whole lot else for you.
Yeah. And then a pandemic hits, and that doesn't help either.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I guess just, moving on to another thing, because one of the things we talked about was fighter salary, but another thing is judging. Just curious on, there's 3 judges. It's a 10-9 scoring system. If you dominate someone now with the new rules, it's a 10-8. Just speak to that. Do you think there should be changes there?
I think, the only change I think they should make, I mean, you hear people talk about the judge. There's going to be bad decisions. There's bad decisions in boxing fights. There's more in MMA because it's only 3 to 5 rounds, right? So 3-round fight, if you score 1 round wrong, then it makes a huge difference. So my opinion on what they should do is add 2 more judges and have a 5-judge scoring system or judging system. I think that's the smartest way to do it.
Yeah, and that's actually something that we in our group have said as well. That's the first step, and if that doesn't work, then
scoring system. There's going to be adjustment period. There's going to be, you can't get into punch count. That doesn't really, because you see these numbers, and it's like sometimes the punch count will show one guy landing way more punches, but when you're watching it, you can see that he's clearly not winning the fight. It's, then you got to take account the damage done by those punches. There's so much criteria, and there's so much. You got punches thrown, punches landed, damage done, takedown attempts, submission attempts. Like there's just so many.
Control too.
For judging kicks, punches more than kicks. Some people are judging takedowns more than striking. There's a lot of variables. So I think the 10-8 or the 10-9 system, the boxing scoring system is good. I think they need to add 2 more judges around the octagon.
Yeah, we're on board with that. Just recently I saw on your Instagram, you had, I think it was your daughter, if I'm not mistaken, she's doing a donation with her hair to a charity. Just speak to that.
So my daughter has this long, beautiful hair that she's barely ever had. She's only had little trims since she was a baby. So everyone compliments her on her hair, but it's getting ridiculous. So we were telling her if she wants to cut it off, that she can donate it. And she really jumped at the opportunity or at the idea and really likes it. And so she's going to donate her hair to a company called Angel Hair for Children, Angel Hair for Kids. I can't remember. I think that's what it is, which is a company that, or a charity that makes wigs for kids, you know, that have had cancer treatments and lost their hair. So we did that. And then we also, you know, I don't know if you know, but I lost my 5-week-old daughter passed away in her sleep at the start of this quarantine. So there's an organization called Baby's Breath Canada that has been helping me and my wife and my family kind of through this in terms of like resources, therapy and whatnot. So it's, you know, and my daughter lost her little sister. So that, I think it's, you know, she wanted to donate, she wanted to raise some money. So we got a little Facebook fundraiser thing. 100% of the donations go to this charity, no administration fees or anything like that. So for anyone who wants to make a donation, the link to it is on my Instagram account. It's just done through a Facebook thing that is dealing with all the charity stuff.
I thought I read something like that, and I really, you know, obviously didn't want to bring anything like that up, but you know, all of us, I had no idea what you're going through. But the one thing you can do is support this cause. So anybody out there, you know, just a ridiculous tough time, and we're you know, our thoughts are with you and all that.
The worst experience of my life, but you know, we're trying to remember the great months we had with our baby girl, and it's, you know, it's the happiest. It's tough because I'm you know, you know, it's the saddest thing that's ever happened to me. It's been the worst couple months of my life, and it was immediately, you know, after one of the best months of my life. So it's been a really roller coaster, and it's all during this pandemic. So but you know, there's some bright, like silver linings, like the fact that this pandemic was happening and I wasn't working. I got to spend every second of her entire life with her, and you know, she knew nothing but love. And you know, there's some silver linings that I can hold on to, and that's what I'm trying to do, and not trying to, you know, fall into despair, which would be pretty easy to do right now.
Well, our thoughts are with you, Sam. It's crazy tough time. I can only imagine. Yeah, we're sorry about that. Just speak to some of the hobbies that you have. You know, you own the gym with Horodesky and Hominick, and I'm not sure if there's any others, but just some of the things you do for fun.
Yeah, it's me. So me, Mark, and Chris run the gym side of it. We got a couple other business partners that are kind of more silent partners. And we just bought the building. We just bought the real estate. So they're kind of, you know, on that one. Oh, shoot. Hang on a second. Hello? Sorry.
No, no worries.
For a second. Yeah, so, I mean, me, Mark, and Chris are pretty busy with the gym. Especially Chris just got hired by Canadian Customs, so he's working at the Sarnia border. So he's kind of here on more of a part-time basis now. So, and I just got off. I mean, it's been tough on Mark for the last few weeks because he's been doing this, running this show by himself. I mean, we have a lot of coaches and stuff and staff that are helping, but he's been doing it, kind of picking up the slack for me while I was on this self-quarantine. But other hobbies, I mean, I spend a lot of time with my kid when I can. I just got a new dog, a little bull terrier puppy, so I've been spending a lot of time with him. I've been trying to stay as active as I can, and you know, through this quarantine while the gym was closed, I've been, you know, riding my bike a lot. I got a mountain bike that I just kind of cruise around on, and I like to go out and have beers with my buddies.
Yeah, it's a good way to top it off.
Yeah.
What'd you name your dog?
It's all about balance. You got to work hard and play hard.
What'd you name your dog?
Well, we were gonna name. He's a bull terrier, so he's got real pointy ears. And the breeders just started calling him Batman. So we like that name, and he's all black. And we were thinking about just keeping the name Batman. But then right before, so we went to meet him, and he wasn't quite ready to be taken home yet. So we went home. We were supposed to pick him up like a week and a half later. And in that week and a half that after we met him, he one of his litter mates, they were going for food and they started scrapping a little bit. And the other, his brother bit his ear in half. So we ended up
Call him Holyfield or Tyson?
in Holyfield. Yeah.
That's awesome. Love it.
Call him Vander for sure. Vander usually comes out as.
Awesome. I like it. Our last segment here, we're just going to do a minute between rounds. It's called just ask you a question, have a couple of answers you can give if we can fire them off.
Yeah, rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Ready to go? All right. Burgers or chicken wings?
Burgers.
Favorite topping?
On a burger?
Yeah. What's that?
Cheese. Does that count?
Yeah, that counts. That counts. Seafood or steak?
Surf and turf.
I like it. Camping or staying in a hotel?
I love camping. I don't get a chance to do it as much as I'd like, but I'm going to say camping because I've stayed in a lot of hotels recently and I haven't gone camping.
Yeah, sick of it probably. Fighting or vacation?
Vacation.
Owning a gym or fighting?
Or fighting because the pay is way better.
Yeah. The actual training or owning a gym?
Like training people or working out?
Yeah, training people.
Training people.
Your time in TKO or UFC?
UFC. I mean, TKO was great. It was fun. And I was undefeated. So maybe TKO, actually. I stayed undefeated there.
Horror films or action films?
Shoot, that's a tough one. Action.
And do you have a favorite?
Favorite action movie? Terminator 2.
Who do you think wins, Cormier or Moicic 3?
Ooh, it's a tough one. I think Cormier is going to fight a smart fight and beat him.
Yeah, I agree. Who's got the best gym in the world? What's the name? What's the name of it?
There's some good ones out there, but I like. Maybe I'm biased, but Adrenaline Training Center.
Sponsors or shoutouts, just to finish off.
I mean, I don't have any sponsors anymore. If anyone's interested, just DM me. But
yeah.
I want to thank the gym. I want to thank Mark Hominick and the boys that support me. I want to thank my wife, Jessie, my daughter, Logan, my dog, Vander, and, and give some love to my baby girl, Sydney, that passed away.
Yeah. And we're all going to give love to her, and we hope, the word gets out and we can make good on a really, really bad situation. We really appreciate your time, Sam.
On the show.
Thank you so much. It's Sam, Hands of Stone Stout. This is Hooks in MMA. Next on the Hooks in MMA podcast, we have Marlon Chito Vera, 15-6-1, 9-5 in the UFC, from Chone, Ecuador. Currently lives in California. How you doing today, Marlon?
All good, brother. Just finished training right now and get some groceries for the house, and I'm good. Training good, healthy, and feeling good.
Awesome. So just to start off, first of all, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate your time. We had a training partner of yours, Alex Perez, on the other day. Great guy, really kind guy, willing to give up his time, and same with you. So again, we really appreciate that.
Yeah, anytime, brother.
So you're on a five fight win streak, all of them finishes, and then you fight Song Yadong. And I watched that 15-minute fight, and afterwards I'm shaking my head and can't believe that the judges called the fight in Song Yadong's favor. How did you see that fight going?
Well, I'm on a 6-5 win streak right now. That's the only thing I know. Yeah, they don't give me the decision, but I show the improvements I did in my camp for that fight. I show I'm a durable person, and I'm very calm in the pocket. I don't need to swing bombs, so I know where my technique and level is. So at the beginning, I was upset about what they did to me, but I realized very quick that there's nothing I can do about it. The only thing I can do is keep working, keep grinding towards my goals, and at the end of the day, shit like that happened, and then it's not my fault. We went to distance, I fought a hard fight. The guy can fight, of course, but at the end of the day, in that fight, I did the most damage. I get the most control. I control the octagon better, and I make the guy quit. So that's the only thing I know. So I'm feeling good going to whatever is next. So in my mind, yeah, that's a loss, but I won a lot. I'm coming off a win for sure.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. It's I'm on a 6-fight winning streak. That's what I believe, and I'm gonna move on. And whatever happens next is gonna happen. It's kind of in the past, and there's nothing you can do about that. So we just focus on the next fight, right?
Absolutely, that's my only goal. I'm training. I'm in pretty good shape right now, so I'm just waiting for the call, but should be soon.
Yeah, and we can't wait for that next one. What got Marlon Chito Vera into MMA? Was there a first thing that you started with? Did you start with boxing? Did you start with Muay Thai? What got you started in MMA?
Honestly, before I started training, I already liked fighting. I was fighting all the time in the streets. I was fighting in school. I was fighting like all the time. So I was always getting involved in fights, in brawls. So when I watched my first UFC event, when I started watching on YouTube highlights of Pride, of WWC, of Strikeforce, I was like, well, I want to have that. I want to make that of my career. And a lot of people were like, yeah, but this is not a country that support a sport, blah blah blah. You won't make it. That's only for the U.S. I was like, fuck off. I'm gonna train. And when I put my first step in a jiu-jitsu gym, my goal was already set. I told the jiu-jitsu coach like, hey, I want to be a UFC fighter. And he was like, oh, okay, calm down, calm down. First train, I'm like, I get it. You think I'm new, but in my head, I watched so many videos that I knew that was my goal. My goal was to be a UFC fighter. So the first five years of training, they were like, "You're not gonna make nowhere." But you know, nobody can control my destiny but my work. So I just work hard enough until somebody noticed me, and that what put me here right now.
And that's what's going on right now. It's a awesome way to show other people what you can do. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It's in your mind, it's in your heart, and you follow that, and you are where you are because of that. So I respect that a lot.
Absolutely.
Why your nickname? Why Chito?
My middle name is Andres. So when I was a little kid, people asked for my name. I used to say Andrew Chito. So it just basically come from my middle name, and there's nothing to do with fighting. Since I'm a little kid, everybody called me like that. So that's actually people think that's my name sometimes, most likely.
Yeah. What do you think's your hardest fight so far in your career? What's your toughest fight you've had?
I think the fight I had in the Ultimate Fighter, that basically the fight that will decide where my future goes. If you lose that fight in the first round, you're gone. Like nobody fucking cares about you. So I went to that fight thinking like it's either live or die, and I knocked the guy pretty good. So that fight set me up for my UFC debut, because you don't want to lose that first fight in the Ultimate Fighter. That's the most important fight of my career, and I'm so glad I finished it the way I did, because that's a highlight reel.
Yeah, and the best part about a fight like that is there's so much riding on it, like you said, right? Your destiny is dependent on that fight. So that mindset going into a fight like that is like live or die, like you said, and you definitely lived, and you are where you are. So I like that. The 135-pound division right now, the bantamweight division, I would argue that it's possibly the best division in the world right now. Back a few years ago, you had, Faber and Cruz, and they're still fighting a little bit. Like Cruz obviously just fought for the title and all that. But I just think the way that it's deep now, there's a ton of really good fighters in that division. Would you agree? In the UFC, it's probably the deepest division.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking fun. For a little bit, was it 150? It's the 155. I think between the lightweight and bantamweight, they're pretty damn good. There's a lot of competition. I think every class have something good going on, but I'm at 35 and I see a lot of fucking talent. So I wake up every morning worried about shit getting done. I wake up worried about like all these motherfuckers are training hard. All those guys are working their asses off. So I have to outwork them. I have to wake up. I don't have to like slog at all. So I wake up every morning thinking I have to get things done. So that's what I'm doing every morning. That's what I'm doing every day. And I'm happy to win this division. I'm pretty happy that the UFC is keep on going. And I'm excited about what's next. I don't think there's an easy fight. So all the fights coming up for me are gonna be tough fights. So I'm gonna be ready for a killer season.
Yeah, it's like who's got that extra edge, who's working that extra few minutes or putting in that extra time to get yourself ahead of the next guy, right? It's a good way to motivate yourself. So
absolutely, you can just go through the motions and think that's it, that you just I'm just in the gym, I need to get a sweat going. Like that's for the average people, that's for the casual fan. We have to put in work. We gotta get better. We gotta find a way to improve. We gotta find a way to be in better shape, be stronger. The literally tells you what counts the most. So I'm trying to invest in Moicic as kind of in my career, because what Dana says is true too. This is not a career. I see it as a career, but this is about opportunities. Sometimes you're putting in work more than other people, and you get the call, and you did a little bit more than that person. Your life will change in one fight. So every day for me, it's a mission. It's a day to work. It's something that I just need to get things done.
yeah, next man up, and who's ready to fucking go, right?
Absolutely.
So do you have your eyes on somebody? Is there somebody you just fought Song Yadong, but who does Marlon want next?
Like I would love to retire the top three of the oldest guys between Jimmy Rivera, Raya Faber, and Dominic Cruz. I would love to put them out, but Dominic is only fighting to get a title chance because I'm guessing in his mind it's better to lose in the top of the division than lose to a guy like me that I'm coming up. So that's on my wish list. If it happens, cool. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. But a lot of people is throwing hype in the Miley fight. So if the UFC want to make it, send me the fucking contract. I mean, I took the fight. He gets suspended by USADA, whatever. If he's a cheater or not, I don't care. I don't think he's a cheater. I just think he drank the wrong supplement.
Yeah.
If it's still his fault for don't fucking ask if he can do it. But whatever. So if the UFC want to make that happen, I'm in for that. But if not, I would love to fight somebody in the top 10 because I was number 14 when I lost to that guy, but I want something that put me up ahead.
Yeah.
I don't want just fight.
Well, just to segue forward, I'm just going to give you 3 matchups. I love as an MMA fan and with our MMA podcast, there's 5 of us that do this. We love projecting matchups and talking about some fun fights stylistically based on the rankings, who would be a fun matchup. So I'm going to give you 3 matchups right now, and you tell me which one would be the best for Chito Vera. So we got yourself and Corey Sandhagen. So he just lost to Aljamain Sterling. We got yourself and Jimmy Rivera. And we got yourself and Rafael Assunção, who just lost to Cody Garbrandt. Which of those 3 would be a fight that Chito Vera wants to have?
I will break down one by one. I think the Assunção fight, I think the guy is in the way, is in downhill right now. I don't think he can perform anymore. He have the name, so I would love to put him out. The Sandhagen fight, I think, is the fun one because he got a lot of hype. He got a good kickboxing, but he showed up a little bit in his last fight, So I would love the fight. I think in the stand-up we can throw down, and I would love to chop him down and little by little put him out. And then the other one with Jimmy, I think that's a fight that should happen. He's been dodging me like way too much, and he knows the reason he's not fighting is because he knows I'm gonna hurt him, I'm gonna punish him, and little by little I'm gonna break him. And once he starts breaking, I'm gonna fuck him up. So that's the fight I would pick of those three.
Yeah, I like any of them, and that's why I suggested them. But I'd like to see you fight Jimmy Rivera. Just on what you said there, you're a tough son of a bitch, and I think he is avoiding that. I agree with that. Talking trash is part of sports, so NFL or we got football, NBA. Just curious if there's something that someone said to you in the ring, just talking shit to you. What would that be?
I'm pretty good at that game. Like I never get nothing gets personal. Doesn't matter what is doesn't matter what's the topic about. Like somebody talking shit, it's just fun for me. Like every time I'm talking shit, I'm laughing. I'm like literally just having fun. Like if you will see how we talk in the gym or how I am with my friends back home, like it's always about bullying each other, like pushing each other. So this is new for me.
Yeah,
I'm the smallest one in a big family, so I know how to play. I don't get mad and lose my head, and I like to fucking fight. So why not put a little bit of hit before?
That's a good mindset to have. One of our last segments here is called Between Rounds. So I'm going to ask you a question, and it's going to be either one answer or the other, and we're going to put 1 minute on the clock here. Okay?
Right on.
We ready to go?
Yep.
All right. Chicken wrap or a veggie wrap?
Veggie wrap.
Regular fries or sweet potato fries?
Sweet potato fries.
Vegas or California?
California. Vegas sucks.
USA or Ecuador?
In my heart, Ecuador, but my life now is in the USA, so I gotta split it 50-50, half a half.
I like it. Irvine or San Diego?
San Diego.
Team Alpha Male or Team Oyama?
Oh, fuck Alpha Male. Besides my boy Philly, but Team Oyama for sure.
BJJ or wrestling?
BJJ.
Stand up or groundwork?
Both.
Knockout or submission?
Knockout. That's sweet right there.
Fighting or vacation?
Fighting.
What division is stronger? 135 pounds or 145 pounds?
Oh, 135 for sure right now.
What about bantamweight or lightweight?
I would say lightweight. It's hard to deny that. Just Gage and Kukui, they will beat all of us.
And who wins, Usman or Burns?
I go with my boy Burns.
Holloway or Volkanovski too?
I got the Aloha. I got the Holloway.
Aldo or Jan?
I'll go with them. I still haven't bought the Jan hype, so I go with the old dog.
Cormier or Moicic 3?
I go with DC. That's a fun fucker.
Marlon Vera or Song Yadong 2?
Oh, I fucked him up for the second time.
And Marlon Vera or the winner of Jan or Aldo?
Ooh, of course myself.
Awesome. Just asking if you have any sponsors or shout outs at all you'd like to give.
Oh, I'm terrible at that because I will mention 3 and I will forget 4, and then that will look horrible. So I just make my post when I have to do it. But thanks for all of them to support me.
Awesome. Last question here. Just curious if there's someone at your gym that you train with that we don't know about that you think in a couple of years might be somebody to watch out for.
There's a pretty good amount of guys that fight pretty good, and they are at the level of the UFC. So again, I don't want to name one and forget one and look like a bad fan. So I will just say, like, check out like the Tino Yama fight. There's hard fighters in there, good Muay Thai, good ground game. So, and right now the UFC is calling a lot of guys, so they might call one of us.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to see your next fight, Marlon. Huge fan. Really appreciate your time. This is Marlon Chito Vera, and this is Hooks in MMA. Thank you for your time, Marlon.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, man. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, yeah.